Hello and welcome to another video from thefanpub.com. Got Sean with me again.
Welcome back to our player video series. You probably know the format by now, so I'm not going to ruin any time or waste any on that. But I want to throw that question at Al, see what he thinks to this player. And I'm going to bring up another quarterback for this video. We're trying to touch most player bases. The one I will avoid is tight ends. There's not a lot to talk about on those. But for today, we're going to talk about this quarterback, and that's Aaron Rodgers. I think this is worth discussing.
No, right, okay.
Okay, the reason I want to
Aaron Rodgers.
I want to discuss this in detail is simply because of these reasons. I love Aaron Rodgers. I'm not going to deny I'm a huge fan. I love the workload. I love what he does. I like the way he plays. I like the aggression of the player. I love Green Bay, the history, everything. I can't say enough.
What about the change in getting rid of McCarthy? Isn't that going to help him?
Or isn't it going to hinder him? Now, I want to.
I don't think it will.
Well, I want to throw.
He was rubbish, wasn't he?
Well, was he?
He didn't ever put it in Rodgers' hands. That was the big problem.
Here's the question mark, right? Has Rodgers been really great the last couple of years, or has he been okay?
He's played, yeah. He scored 50 fantasy points last week.
Yeah,
that's pretty great, isn't it?
It's very good. Yeah, it's last week.
So take a couple of them.
Yeah, you would. But what week was that?
Yeah, well, week 16.
Well, you take that obviously in a final, but that's assuming you've got Aaron Rodgers. But was he great all year? That's the question.
I think when he played, considering he was injured, I think he was good.
And you would have had to have got him high up. I think we'd agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously when anyone gets injured and they're high up, it's hard work, isn't it? And he has fallen this year because of it.
And he's still going what quarterback number?
4.
Right, so he's still up there at 4. Okay. I would argue that I think actually this isn't
3.
This isn't right. Right, he hasn't done it for the last couple of years. He's not in the top 5.
Yeah, but that's because of injury, not because of.
But also other issues. You've got changes in personnel there this year. You've got some seriously big question marks around what's happening within the team in terms of who's after Devontae Adams, who's the logical number 2. When they've done well. And this is going to be a really good one because it's a highly controversial video because I'm not actually saying that Aaron Rodgers isn't going to be, a top quarterback. I'm just saying I don't think he finishes inside the top 5. Sorry, I just don't. He hasn't done it the last couple of years. Anybody can dispute that, but the facts are there. He just hasn't done it. A player that's produced top 5 numbers over the last 5 years twice is Matt Ryan. I mean, that might surprise people, but Aaron Rodgers hasn't. In the last 2 years, he hasn't done it.
Yeah, but it is mainly due to injury, isn't it?
It's injury has affected him,
but then
of course.
You've got to factor that in.
But you've got to factor those things in. We can't go on the what if because we know that this is a game that becomes a big issue. I'd like to see Green Bay for balance. I believe they've got Aaron Jones. We spoke about that in another video.
He's a good weapon, isn't he?
I think he's a great weapon. They've got to develop the situation at tight end a bit.
Jimmy Graham's already said he's going to have a breakout year.
We'll see what happens there. They've got the number 1 in Devontae Adams, no argument from me, but the number 2 is still an open case. Some people think it's Valdez-Scantling, some people think it's Geronimo Allison. You can argue it however you like, but there's there's no established number 2 yet. No one's quite stepped up yet to do the 2, and I think this is important in the development of the offense for a critical key reason.
You know what I think it'd be?
Go on.
And he's probably very undervalued at the moment.
Yeah, go on.
Geronimo Allison.
Probably.
He's been there.
Because he was injured previously and then slipped down the ranks. So, yeah, it's a very valid point. And a lot of people will highlight him as a potential breakout. And I can't argue that because of what I'm just saying.
I love Valdez-Scantling. I do love Valdez.
See, for me, if you're taking... I mean, let's be honest. If somebody's taking Aaron Rodgers in any league format, you're not taking him outside round 5, are you? He's going inside those first 4 rounds. Let's be honest. Can you imagine him dropping outside the first 4?
Okay.
I've seen it happen in Dynasty. Yes, but
he's 53 overall. That's consensus outside top 4. So.
Well, okay, in a large league just outside. But could you see that happening in a large league as of today? Do you think that's realistic and fair? Do you think that's where he'll go? Because it's not a million miles.
If it's 16 teams, then obviously. He won't, will he?
No.
That'd have to be down at 64.
And even if we argue that his current ADP and we just assume it's a very small league, still 5 and a bit rounds, 6 rounds. I mean, that's still very high.
You field most of your team.
But that's okay if you field most of your team. But that's because it's a small league, then you're mitigating some of the risk. But all I'm saying with him is you're still having to use a lot of stock value for a player that probably does not fall inside the top 5.
Okay, let me give you the players that are around him. You can tell me who you'd rather have on your team.
Yep.
OJ Howard, tight end. You're not keen on them.
No.
Sammy the Boot Watkins.
No chance.
Alshon Jeffrey.
I don't even put Sammy the Boot on a what if video because we know what if he's going to do.
We know what the if is. Alshon Jeffrey.
I wouldn't touch with a barge pole.
Kenyon Drake.
Never going to happen.
Well,
God, I'm ruling out
Alan Robinson.
Never going to touch him.
Alan Robinson.
Yeah, but there are other players outside of this range that I would probably move up, if I'm honest, rather than down. So
I was going to say, but when you look at the alternatives around that,
yeah, I'm not arguing. My argument is a very simple one. I just don't think he finishes inside the top 5. There are a few reasons. I think the reasons are fairly.
Do you think if he stays fit all year, he won't?
No, it's not about staying fit. I think it's purely down to the fact that there needs a balance.
He played hurt a lot last year.
Yeah, the team needs a. Well, yes, he did. The team needs a balance. And there are some issues with balance that concern me. I think he's had to take more and more risks as a quarterback. And I'm not knocking, some of those risks I totally don't. I'm not knocking that. I like that. But there is some issues with, there's been question marks over the back room, which is fair. Ex-players have come out and criticised, whether that's right or wrong. Not for me to say. Just
that's because he's a perfectionist. They do the same with Brady. It's just
it's a little
clickbait.
I'm not so sure it's completely clickbait. I think if we're honest, could we argue this point? This is what makes this a fabulous video to watch. Really, I think with Brady, there's been no wasted years. It's all fallen perfectly. They've got squeezed every ounce of ability out of the man, and one could argue. I've had to relook at his tape, and one could argue that at his age of 41. Given that age and looking at quarterbacks between 38 and 41, he still might be better than even I've given him credit for in the last videos that I've spoke about him, because I'm thinking, looking back on the tape, actually thinking about what you lose as you get older and what he's still got, he's probably the exception of the rule. If you take him against Breeze, I would argue that he's probably in better shape than Breeze in terms of physicality and how he is as a person, how his lifestyle is.
Who do you think could win a 100-metre race between them?
I think it's probably going to be close, if I'm honest, but that's a different thing. But here's where I want to go with this, with Rodgers, okay? I don't think he finishes inside the top 5, so I do think it's shooting a bit high. I think there are other quarterbacks underneath that have a better chance to give you, on a week-by-week basis,
I would argue 100% that if Aaron Rodgers and Baker Mayfield play 16 games, there's no way Baker Mayfield beats Aaron Rodgers.
No way. This is fantastic. This is great, because this is the moment I can now pounce, and I'm going to pounce because I'm going to try and get out of bite now. So I'm going to say this. I believe Baker Mayfield does finish higher than Aaron Rodgers.
If they both play 16
I don't need Baker Mayfield to play 16 games, and I don't understand why you would even debate the 16 games.
Well, because if Rodgers gets injured,
why don't we have
it's not the fair bet.
Why don't we have a forfeit challenge? Okay,
all right.
This is the forfeit challenge.
They've got to both play 16 games.
Well, that's hard because they, only needs one player not to. I'm backing that Baker stays healthy all year. I'm not even debating it. If he should not even make the season, I've lost, and I will accept that I've lost as a gentleman, and you should do the same.
Well, I'm not a gentleman, so
you should accept it. There's no reason to doubt me.
Because I think the only way I lose is by an injury.
I don't believe. I'm not backing Aaron Rodgers. I'm not even worried if Aaron Rodgers plays the full season. I do believe Baker Mayfield will outperform.
They've both played 16 games. I'm happy to do that.
16 games? You're worried about 16? You're almost telling me he's a bust. You're almost saying Aaron Rodgers can't stay healthy.
That's a worry with him. Yeah.
Okay, let's make it a bit more interesting.
You're saying even if
as long as Aaron Rodgers plays 12, how's that?
What are we doing on points per game?
Let's do. I'll tell you what we'll do. Do it this way. This is fair then. So it mitigates some injury risks for Aaron Rodgers, because I do believe he might get injured actually.
Well, yeah, exactly.
So if we go 12, let's say their best 12 performances.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair, and that's the best 12 performances based on either in standard scoring, touchdowns, yards, running about everything. Their best 12 performances. Whoever wins that, great. The loser has to do a forfeit. Probably have to do one of these shows in whatever style format you want. It could be fancy dress, anything you like, just for a bit of fun.
You have to wear a Ryan Fitzmagic shirt.
Okay, that's fair. That's pretty ugly. Okay, and I'll come up with some dodgy shirt from the past for Al, which is going to have to fit. So there you are.
Not many that fit me.
So you've heard it here first.
Look fine in that.
So I'm more buying into Baker, but we'll do in another video. We'll talk about why I'm buying into Baker Mayfield and why I.
No, I like Baker Mayfield.
Why I believe
he's not Aaron Rodgers yet.
No, he's not. No, he's not yet, but he's just about
That's
to.
My argument.
He's about to show you something this year.
Well, I think he's a good player.
And we're going to see. And that's a live bet there, so it's going to be very interesting for next year.
Whose side are you on?
Who do you think? Do you think I'm just going with the recency bias of Baker, or have I spotted something that is
top
about
12
to happen?
games? Who scores? Who does
In
best?
standard scoring? Who does the best? What is the outcome? Let's find out which of these two quarterback matches up and does well.
I mean, you've got the best receivers, so you've got great running backs.
I have got a great tight end as well. It's a great situation.
Well, I'd argue that.
I like Njoku. I think
he's all right.
Yeah, but this is an Aaron Rodgers video.
The great's a bit far.
Yeah, hey, it's all right. Does the job.
No Jimmy Graham.
No, he's not. No, not
Jimmy
yet.
Graham isn't Jimmy Graham anymore.
No, Jimmy Graham isn't. But there you go. So there's an interesting one on Aaron Rodgers. I'm not sure he finishes in the top 5, and I'm not saying he's a million miles off it. I'm just saying you have to pay a lot of high stock for that. And I think if we were looking at the number 7, let's give you an example on this and redraft, just so it's clear. Last year, just to give you an example, I think Aaron will finish 7th, and the player that could still finish 6th and 7th could be, shockingly, Kirk Cousins again in standard scoring. And people will say, he's rubbish. Yet that's what he'll do in fantasy football. So the truth is, you'll be getting him a lot later. In fact, he may go so late, you can pick him up almost free of charge deep down there. So if you're in that mode of trying to find a sneaky one, he could be the guy. So that's all I'm trying to say. You don't need to rest high stock on this situation, on this guy. I just don't think it's going to happen.
I don't know how people put Jameis Winston ahead of Kirk Cousins.
Nor do I.
Kirk Cousins is 21. Jameis Winston is 11.
It's madness.
11?
Why?
He might even have a...
Let's join us in the next video, because I want to talk...
Magic outplayed him.
I want to talk about Baker Mayfield, and we'll get Al's reaction live for that one.
I've just told you.
No, we want
he's
more.
No Aaron Rodgers.
I want
Not
more.
yet. He might become.
I want more on it. Let's talk again in a minute.
Whose side are you on? So leave it in the comments. Are you a Rodgers or you?
Yeah,
you
like, subscribe.
Sean ridiculous Mayfield.
Please tell us what you think. You'll probably sound crazy. That's fine.
And if you want to go for Mayfield, I'll come and see you at the asylum. So,
excellent. Well, we may see Al in something very special, throwback uniform. That will be very. I look forward to it. I'm thinking a women's October could be good. A little bit of pink there could work well. I'll order it in.
Oh, I thought we don't want to know where that was going. Anyway, all right. Thanks very much for watching.
Thanks for watching.
Cheers. Bye.